Welcome to Room 101 at Harrigan Compound West. It's story time. So this week, I'm trying out some Baren Latakia roll, a tobacco that I have to say I was incredibly interested in getting my hands on. Right from the minute I read the description on the various websites that were selling it, I was hooked, and probably shouldn't have bought as many tins as I did, because no sooner did I get it back in March that I gave it a try and I found it completely underwhelming. I mean, it was like air, not much to it at all. So I said, why don't we keep this around for a while and we'll get back to it a few months down the road. And that's what we're doing today, a couple of months, 3 months maybe down the road. And I have to say, it's feeling a little better. I'll get a better sense of it as I go here. I'm smoking it in a Mastro Cascia pipe. It's really a lovely pipe, kind of found by accident on eBay. And you might want to give them a look. Mastro Cascia, well worth your time and your money. Anyway, I said that I wasn't going to talk about Anthony again this week, and I'm not. But I am going to talk about a couple of events that he was at, right? He's just a bit player here. He's as unimportant as you might think. So set it off to the side, and let's just think about what actually happened. But before that, some prelude. When I was young, and I mean 13, maybe 12, I had a hard time sleeping. I mean, a really hard time. I would stay up night after night after night. It was so bad that I actually had this little tiny television. And of course, we were getting our TV over the air at that point. And I had this little tiny set, and I could plug an earbud into it, earbud singular. That's all we had, one earbud. I wouldn't even call it that. I can't remember what we called it. And I would lay in bed with the covers over my head watching the Johnny Carson show. And I think I was the only 12-year-old who had a real familiarity with Carson. And I found out later that my father was always watching it in the living room, maybe 15, 20 feet from where I slept. And if I took the TV and I put it on the Carson show, and he also had the Carson show on, which he always did, he would never actually hear that I was listening to it in the other room. I just faded into oblivion, which was kind of nice. So night after night, year after year, I lived this way. And it was almost as if I couldn't fall asleep at night. I got as tired as you can imagine during the day, and we're going to find out why that is a little later on, because decades come and go, and I'm in Utah, and I'm having nothing but difficulties with the sleep. So we made an appointment, like normal people, to take me down to the University of Utah Sleep Disorder Clinic. And there they decided that it was pretty clear that I had a case of circadian rhythm sleep disorder. You can take a look at that graphic right there if you want to learn more about it. The long and the short of it is that sleep phases are off. So my brain more or less misinterprets the signals of sunlight and darkness. So I'm just getting tired when the sun comes up right about when all of you are just getting ready to face the day. And it turns out my father had this. There is a very much a genetic component. And my daughter, the fair Sophia, who does these videos for us, also has it. And it's a difficult way to live. And yet, there we are. So I went down, and they gave me this thing at the sleep clinic. They gave me this light box. And they said, okay, what you need to do to be a normal person is take this light box and position it in front of you, a little off to the side, so you're not staring directly into it. But make sure it's at least 2 feet away from your face when you do it. And like an idiot, I said, oh yeah, why? And she said, because if it's closer than 2 feet, you might burst all the blood vessels in your eyes. And that led me to think that maybe this wasn't a great idea, that maybe the cure was actually a little worse than the condition. And I decided right then that that's going to be enough of this foolishness, and I'm just going to go ahead and live with it. I've got one of those few jobs that doesn't really matter when I'm awake and when I'm asleep, so what the hell. And from that point forward, and this would have been, well, about 1999, 2000, from that point forward, it's been this collection of doctors who prescribe and prescribe and prescribe all kinds of goofy things for me. Nothing ever actually works, which is the problem. I know what would work, and I tell the doctors what would work. I won't tell you because I'll probably get in trouble for that. But they all look at me and say, you're crazy, I can't give you that. And then they give me like 4 other things instead. And before you know it, I'm on like a half a dozen sleeping pills, and then I'm on like 10 sleeping pills every night. And it's enough to drop a buffalo, right? It's amazing the kick these things have. Unfortunately, after they kick, they don't put me to sleep, so I wander around the house high as a kite. My kids think this is really quite funny. But it gets even funnier when I reminisce about that time, or more to the point, those 2 times. I went to Ronald Reagan High School in San Antonio, Texas. Here's a picture of the room that I lecture in. So I'm standing up on that stage, and the room is bigger than you might first expect. It looks like this. So first, yeah, that's a facility that no high school deserves, and yet there it is. But second, you know, when you're in front of that many people and you're alone on that big stage, you kind of want to be at the top of your game. And yet, I'm never at the top of my game because I've got this terrible habit. Whenever I get, for some reason, to San Antonio, I reach into my suitcase to remove my pill container, and I go to take my morning medications. And for some reason, when I'm at San Antonio, at Ronald Reagan, I always take the nighttime medications, the ones that are designed to put me to sleep, at the hotel. So I'm driving in and I'm already losing consciousness. And then I start talking, and people tell me that it's roughly the same as it always is, which I guess is heartening. But they say I'm a little grumpier than usual. Frankly, I can't remember a minute of it, not 1 minute. And I've only done this, mistaken my morning meds and my night meds, 3 times in my life. 2 times were at Ronald Reagan High School, so I don't know what the hell that's got to say about anything, but here we are. What's the lesson here? I suspect there isn't one, as is so often the case. Maybe pay a little more attention, maybe have different colors on the pill bottles. I don't know. I hope this never happens again, because it's kind of terrible. And yet I'm pretty sure it is going to happen again. I hope not in San Antonio next time. I want to spread the misery around the country a little bit. So what's the story with the McBaren? I have to say it's a little better this time. 3 months worth of aging didn't hurt this at all. It still doesn't make the very good category. I think it lives in acceptable. It's a mild flavoring with a mild strength. There's not a lot here. It's disconcerting how little there is here, given what the tin smells like when you open it. It smells like, for all the world, you've got a real winner, and yet by the time you light it and smoke it, you don't. So maybe avoid this one, unless you really like mild, relatively flavorless blends. Have a nice week. Hopefully we'll be back with a better smoke next week. This one's just really not that good. And I've got 4 or 5 more tins if somebody's out there and want to make a trade with me. So you just let me know. I would advise you not to do that. But each to his own. Have a great week.
H-A-R-R-I-G-A-N spells Harrigan. Proud of all the Irish blood that's in me.
Like I said earlier, I was going to talk about Anthony at all this time, but I lied. I'm going to tell you one very short story of a time we were in Kentucky and we went to Walmart because I had to pick up my my required 12 and 24 packs of Coke Zero. And Anthony, as we walked to the store, said, "I'll be right back," and he went running. And I looked at him, and he was shoving an old lady into like an SUV. And for her part, she was screaming at him, "No, I wanted to get out." He saw some lady getting out of a truck, figured she had to get back in, and he was trying to shove her right back in there. And it was probably the funniest single second of the entire trip. Now, I felt a little bad for the old lady. I don't feel so bad for Aunt, but for the old lady, yeah. But there you go. I mean, when he's not able to do something nice, he tries to go make something nice that he can do. And this poor old lady paid the price. So we'll see what he does next week when I don't talk about him again.